You're welcome to Talk.TV, the online fishing show for all of us fish heads. Now this week it's our Christmas special. You can see in the studio with the tree up with the lights. It's a Christmas cracker we have. We're going to go and attempt to catch a steelhead trout from the Niagara River in upstate New York with our buddy over there. And in studio our guests are Dr. Ken Whelan. We've also got Mark O'Regan, and we're going to be exploring a number of great topics with these guys. Anitra Hamper will visit us via Skype. We'll also have our Pixelated photo competition. We've got the results and the winner this week. And then we have Pascal Brissot's shore snack sensation. My studio guest is Ken Whelan, an old friend. You've been here before.
I have, Alan.
And this time, first timer, greenhorn, Mark O'Regan. Mark, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you.
Now, I have an interest in Lough Sheelin, which you guys have a great knowledge of. And to me, it's like a Lazarus-like resurrection from the dead. Can you fill me in on this remarkable tale of a lake that was once dead and now it's fantastic, brimful of fish?
Well, I suppose I started fishing in it back in the late 60s, early 70s. And at that time it was a wonderful fishery with lots of trout and very, very clear water. And over a period of time it obviously changed. But in those days there were tremendous fish moving early in the morning and late in the evening. And a reasonable amount of fish moving during the day. But then the decline came, and in approximately 1980 I moved away from it because it became unfishable.
And why did it decline, Mark?
Well, we all know why it declined, because there was a huge amount of slurry moving into it, and the lake became eutrophied. It was just an absolute mess, with visibility down to about maybe 2 to 3 feet.
It became like a sump, didn't it? With everyone dumping stuff into it, legally, illegally, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say everybody was dumping stuff into it. I mean, there was, at that point we knew who was dumping stuff into it, and it was very clear that it was coming from a certain agricultural pursuit. So it declined, and a lot of the stalwarts actually stayed there and fished it and kept fishing it. I moved to Lough, and I had a wonderful 5 or 6 years there on my own until everybody else, the word got out.
Yes,
and I didn't go back to it until recent years. And
what year would you reckon, Mark, that was stone dead? My brother-in-law, John Martin Smith, he's a great advocate of Sheelin, and as his father, late Ted Martin Smith, they fished right through the bad days. But they used to come back always saying to me, we still live in hope.
Yeah,
but you didn't. You're pragmatic.
No, I left it. I certainly think it died somewhere in the early 80s. I mean, I just got out of it, because one stage I remember reading an article. I think it was by George Burroughs, who wrote for the Times, and he said in his article that, and I never forget the term he used. He said that the smell of pig pervaded the air, and it was a dreadful thing. And it was true. It was there. And it was,
and the water was an amazing colour. It was disgusting.
Oh, absolutely
disgusting. And it was disgusting. Smell off it.
Absolutely.
I remember.
But I mean, it was the way practice was done at that particular time.
Yeah.
And but that has all changed now. And
today you're looking at a different environment here. The water is like crystal clear gin water again. Isn't that right? It's fantastic.
It's amazing the difference and the change that there was. I mean, I came at it slightly differently in that I had fished Sheelin a few times, but only a very few times. And then in 1975, then at a very young age, I was lucky enough to get a job, which was unheard of at that stage, to get a job as a biologist in your early 20s. And my job was very simple, to find out what was happening to the mayfly, and predominantly what was happening to the mayfly in Lough Sheelin. So I had started a PhD on mayflies, so I was to concentrate then on the big mayfly, Ephemera danica, the guy that hatches in May and June, and really get to the bottom of it. And you're absolutely correct in terms of your timing. By the time I got there in 75, the problem was there. But I can remember when I finished my work, which would have been in the late 70s, by 81, 82, it got particularly bad. I remember going up with my brother Brendan at one stage, and it's very hard to describe how green that lake was that night. I ran out of it. It was the most sickly, bright, greeny yellow I've ever seen in my life. Completely opaque. You could not see the bottom. So if you were cutting off all the light from the bottom, that meant then you were dropping the overall productivity of the lake. So it is amazing that it has come back to the situation we now find it in. But the important thing was that all of the species of insects that we as anglers are interested in stayed in the lake. We didn't.
So they
actually,
survived.
We didn't actually lose anything,
Okay.
which was really surprising. Even the mayfly stayed in small pockets. So there was definitely a reservoir, and they were waiting for the conditions to improve. And really, it's down to
like in suspended animation almost.
Absolutely.
And then, Ken, once conditions start to improve due to a lot of money spent by governments, successive governments, and this, remember, Mark, you can correct me on this, they tankered out on the roads all this convoys of slurry tankers going out of the catchment. That was the byword, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they were being
absolutely.
paid to move it into different counties.
Yeah, that removal certainly did a lot of. It stopped the pollution. It stopped the pollution.
The saturation level.
But if you look at what happens after that, subsequent to that, you had an invasion of the zebra mussel, and I attribute totally the cleaning of the floor of the lake to the zebra mussel. They were able to
filter feed.
the filter fed.
To take the first trophic level out of any, trophic situation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they just literally cleaned it out. And I can remember at the time doing a little bit of research on it, and I found that on the Great Lakes of America, that's where they had the zebra mussel. But they even noticed that the water clarity was improving. The water clarity today is up to 9 feet. That is fantastic. And now you can fish it. You can fish it in the top 3 foot, the top 6 foot, 9 foot down with fly. And that is fantastic. And the lake has got better and better and better.
And very high average weight of fish coming out of it.
Yeah, and we were remarking on that. I think it's extraordinary. One word of warning though, the filtering is going on, and we have no idea
what the impact
is going
of
to
the
be
trophic
in the future.
status.
Absolutely, because if you have a situation where you have this massive quantity of filter feeders constantly filtering out, particularly the phytoplankton, the small, tiny, unicellular. Not so much the Daphnia really is the sort of
so zooplankton and phyto have been taken out.
But the zooplankton is there, and it just responds to the phytoplankton. Phytoplankton are the little plant material.
Yeah.
So the plant material that's there may continuously be sucked out, and we may see an overall drop in productivity over time.
That's interesting.
The thing is that invasives always have positives and negatives. We're now going through a really fantastic phase of positive effects.
Yes.
But we can't stop it. Yeah. We can't turn the tap off.
No,
so people should be aware of that, because there could be a situation, and there's some indications in the States at the moment in some of the lakes that the overall productivity of some of the lakes with zebra mussel is beginning to dip back down again.
My gosh.
And it could turn much more barren than it is now.
Yes, of course.
So that's
that you
always
won't have
a concern.
the food available, sustain
but I
a
think
healthy
on the
population.
positive, you look at the positive sides of it too. I mean, we certainly can angle there today, and that's tremendous.
And it's an enjoyable experience.
But, absolutely. But another thing that's I think is very pertinent is that whilst the zooplankton seems to have decreased in its amount, the subsequent fallout from that is that your roach have decreased in numbers, which means that the phytoplankton isn't being eaten, and therefore that increases. That's not a good situation either.
So
on the other side,
you raise an imbalance perhaps then developing.
Absolutely, but on the other side then, you have increasing hatches of mayfly, which is a good water indicator. It tells you that the water is actually improving in quality. It is. It's a litmus test. But one of the things that I've noticed in the time is that a lot of the diving duck have disappeared. And
goose sanders?
No, not particularly. Like some pochard that were coming in, and the golden eye diver, they've decreased in numbers. And I think that the reason possibly for that is, as they found in the United States, was that they were predating on the zebra mussel, and the zebra mussel has a very, very sharp shell, very small, easily to take it in, but very difficult to digest, and it was perforating the intestines of these animals, and they were actually dying.
And they're dying because of
this.
But
the mayfly numbers, they're up, as proven by our results this year, which were quite fascinating.
What I did discover in Lough about 8 or 10 years ago now is that you can also get benefits from the zebra mussel, because the shells can actually afford a haven for the mayflies.
So there's often a sort of a symbiotic relationship develops.
Yeah.
Well, Ken Whelan and Mark O'Regan will be staying with me this week. They're my studio guests. And now we're off to visit with Pascal Brissot for another shore snack sensation. Bonjour, Pascal.
Bonjour, Alan.
Today is going to be a special day.
Why?
I noticed here we're probably going to have deep fried lure. I'm not impressed.
Yeah, but you're careful with that. That's undigestible.
Undigestible.
Yes.
The whole thing, I'd say, is.
You think so?
So we're not eating this?
No, not yet.
Wow.
No, but you are right. Today we go for fish, actually.
Are we? Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I was near
yeah,
it
for
anyway.
Yeah. I can see that. Today we will do some spaghetti with salmon, mussel on a beurre blanc.
I love that. Say that again.
Yeah. A spaghetti with mussel,
Mussel.
salmon.
Salmon.
You know all about.
I love salmon.
On beurre blanc.
Beurre blanc.
Wow.
Don't you just love it?
Yeah, yes.
Beurre blanc. Let's go.
Let's go start.
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah.
Alors,
That sounds lovely, Pascal.
nice olive oil.
Olive oil. On a hot pan.
Hot pan with my fabulous pot.
Well, I like the idea of the salmon now. This sounds really lovely. Yeah.
Oh, change. Alors.
And the mussel. Les moules.
Les moules.
Les moules.
Exactement, les moules. Onions,
Okay.
green pepper, red pepper. Looks a nice noise.
Yeah.
Voilà, voilà.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, that's enough. Smell,
Oh, it's beautiful.
I
Isn't
love
it?
it. I
The
love
lovely sizzle there.
it. It's like the Mediterranean. It
Oh,
smells,
isn't it? It looks lovely.
I know we miss the sunshine today, but
Yes, yeah, but we're
Yeah.
men, we're tough.
exactly on the island, on this paradise of fishing, you know.
Well, that's it. The reason the fishing is so good here is because we have this weather.
Exactly. Yeah. If you want water, it has to come from somewhere.
That's it. Exactly. That's it. Yeah.
All right. Just
So
start
we're
to
just
have
going
a
to sweat
nice
these
color.
down and get a bit of colour.
Yes.
So we're having
My-
your special
My
5
special
spice Chinese,
myself, exactly.
salt, pepper, coriander,
Again, voilà.
and a bit of the
Yeah, we will add some
yeah.
sugar, a little bit.
Oh, sugar.
Yes,
Okay.
just to caramelize that.
Okay. So a little small bit of sugar
But
as
very
well.
small, huh?
Okay, that's important then.
Yeah, yeah. For the green pepper, you give them a nice sweet.
Okay. Now I would never have known to do that. That's good.
Yeah, at home it's lovely. Just put some sugar, you'll see. Oh, it's
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah. Oh. The peppers, the aroma from the peppers.
It is.
isn't
Oh, me, I love
it?
it.
It has a lovely,
Yeah.
warm, fruity smell.
Yes.
Oh.
Like ole ole, huh?
Oli oli.
Oh, that's not Italian. Sorry.
is it-
It's
is it-
va bene.
We're losing our culture
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Sorry about that.
Pascal, I'm really impressed today. You really, really pushed the boat out for me. The old salmon. I really appreciate it.
A bit of white
Sauvignon
wine.
Blanc.
Sauvignon
Sauvignon
Blanc.
Blanc. Okay. Small glass, do you think?
Yeah, but I have to test it first.
Oh, do it. Okay. That's.
Do you want to test it?
I think it's important.
Yeah?
Just quality control. I do.
Come on,
Just you know me.
Just a wee bit. Monsieur.
That's really nice.
Mm.
Fruity.
Oh, not too much. We have to keep there.
Oh, that's
Some, huh?
wonderful.
It's good, huh?
That's dry as well.
Yeah,
Fruity and dry.
I agree.
So you're going to put a glass in, a small glass.
Voilà.
That's really nice. So that's important.
Yes, it is, of course. That gives all the flavor to the beurre blanc.
Okay.
Alors, we will add the
We're
beurre
getting-
blanc.
Yeah, it's going well.
Our beurre blanc is made with shallots.
Shallots, yeah.
You put some white vinegar, you reduce it.
Yeah.
You put cream, you reduce half. And you put 50 grams of butter.
50 grams.
And you thick with corn flour.
Corn flour.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
complicated.
Okay.
And you have it there.
So we will say it once more then, Pascal. So you use cream,
You start with shallots.
shallots, yeah.
After-
With spring onion.
Yeah, spring onion.
Yeah.
You reduce with white vinegar.
White vinegar.
And after you add some cream.
Yeah.
And you thick that with some corn
Corn
flour.
flour,
Yes,
just to thicken
yes,
it up. And
Exactly.
whip it all up together.
Exactly. And look the nice color it's giving that.
That's lovely.
Voilà.
That's really thickening up now, actually.
Yeah, it's that would be very nice.
Oh, this is a welcome treat now. A morning out on the lake, exhausting yourselves, fighting all those fish.
You see that?
And they were going for this.
Well, it's fish
Yeah,
is
yeah.
there already. Voilà, voilà.
Oh, I can see it now. Yeah, it's just bubbling up very nicely,
It's getting warm.
very gently. It's thickening up.
You remember the salmon we catch this morning?
I do indeed. I wrestle it to the boat.
Yeah, I know that.
Yes.
We boil it for 10 minutes.
Did we?
Yes.
I don't remember. Was I asleep?
No, it's not rare. It's good. It's cooked.
Very
Mm,
nice. Lovely, lovely salmon. Yes. So it's
Uh,
already cooked salmon.
I already cooked poached salmon.
Yeah. Off, skin off it.
Skin off, of course.
Yeah.
And we just skin off on no
No, that's
bones
wonderful.
as well,
Yeah,
if
no bones.
possible.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill the crew behind us.
Just in case, yeah. They're very
Yeah.
touchy about these matters.
So we have to.
They always threaten me with legal proceedings
I know
if
that.
the bones get.
I know. But look, I have a bone for them, and don't worry. That's a nice bone, huh? All right.
We have to be very careful because we might end up with a bone in our throat.
Mussel?
Les moules, the
A
mussels.
mussel just
Yeah.
boil it for open it for 2 minutes, no
Yes.
more.
Okay.
With a pot, and you put a lid.
Yeah.
And after you put that. We have a visitor there. Voila.
Voila. That's really lovely. Actually, it gives a nice colour to it.
It is.
And Pascal, are they Irish mussels? Probably,
Yes,
probably
they are.
cultured down in Bantry or somewhere like that.
Bantry, or you have some in
Killaree?
in
The
Killaree,
Killaree, big
yes,
one in
of
Killaree.
Killaree mussel, or you have some in Kilkeel as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. And I think also in Carlingford there's a big,
Oh yes,
isn't there?
Or Carlingford.
Very extensive
all over,
agriculture.
the produce of Ireland, especially from the sea.
Yeah.
are fantastic.
World renowned.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Exported all over.
He's the best, you know.
Yeah. And I noticed, Pascal, you use all fresh produce in your restaurant.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are so blessed in Ireland between the lamb, the beef, the lobster, scallops, mussel. It's really fantastic, you know. We'd be ashamed to not use
Absolutely,
that.
to utilise it for your guests.
We take some nice spaghetti.
Nice spaghetti.
A drop of olive oil in the water, salt.
Yes.
Cook for 10 minutes.
Yes.
Refresh with clear water and put it in a tub.
Okay.
Now the sauce is hot.
Yeah.
We'll add our spaghetti just to read them.
Okay.
That's it. Voila.
That looks wonderful.
Yeah, that would be a very nice dish. That.
This looks wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's healthy, of course.
But that's very healthy. Yeah, exactly.
Salmon with the omega-3s.
Yeah,
les moules.
Completely.
Very healthy food.
The healthy will be maybe the beurre blanc.
Beurre blanc.
But
yes,
life is too short.
Life is too short for it to be, you know, worrying about these small matters of death.
Exactly.
Isn't that it?
Oh, exactly.
No, it's very healthy though, Pascal, because salmon's very nice and very good. And the veg.
Exactly, that's really ready
so
to
the
serve.
pasta now has absorbed a lot of the juice that you had.
Completely.
So we're going for a...
You want to go for a test?
Yeah.
All right.
I will
I have
shore
my,
test, because we're on the shore.
For spaghetti, look what I bring.
Okay, so you have everything.
Castagnette.
Castagnets. So you were a flamenco dancer.
No, yes, you see. Top.
That's why you still have the tutu. I knew it.
My tutu.
I knew it.
Oh, look at that.
This
Wow.
looks wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Oh my gosh.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Nice.
A bit of...
You want more, I think. I will keep some for the crew.
Oh, I think it's important.
Look, they're all
We must-
dribbling everywhere.
Yes.
Be careful.
We'll never hear the end of it.
Voilà.
Oh, this looks wonderful.
Voilà.
Oh my gosh. That is a feast fit for a really hungry fisherman.
That's it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Et voilà.
You've really done me proud today,
Monsieur Alain,
Pascal.
bon appétit.
Merci beaucoup, mon ami.
Good.
This looks absolutely
Yeah,
delicious.
yeah.
I'm going to try le moule first of all.
Yes.
Le moule.
Le moule. Nice.
Oh, sweet. It's
Nice, and you see that exactly. The pepper, the onions, and the
I'll twist on some of the pasta,
completely.
the salmon.
Voilà.
Look at that pasta. Look at this. I'm going to show you folks back home, all around the world looking in. It's a pity you can't taste what Pascal just made. It's delight for me.
You will test at home. You will do it yourself. It's very easy, and I guarantee you the results.
It is exquisite. It is.
It's nice, huh?
You did me proud.
Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
All right.
And I mean that. Thank you so much.
Today you are allowed to enjoy that and go fishing later.
Okay. I'm going to actually feed the crew as well. They've been good to me today.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Au revoir.
Don't forget the wine.
Bye bye.
Maybe you want some wine.
No, I think give it to the boys.
All right. Okay.
We never live it down.
All right. Bye bye, and have a good day, and see you next week.
I just love Pascal Brissot's shore snack sensation. I learn something every week. It's simple, fair, very quick, and of course we do it, Ken, in real time out there, and everything that's produced is done 6-7 minutes.
I think it's fantastic, and what I've really learned from watching it is the necessity to pre-prepare. I always thought if people were talking about quick snacks that people could do it very quick.
Yes.
That's not the point. Point is assemble it very quickly.
Assemble it and use ingredients that you have in the fridge.
Exactly.
And it's low cost. Now there's the emphasis on low cost, very doable for your average Egypt like me, and good fare, good nutritious stuff. And we always keep going back to it. Imagine the old cheese slices and it doesn't hold up.
It does not. And the fact too that on a cold day, particularly those of us that are interested in the pike fishing, on a cold day, the idea that you actually have a hot meal on the banks of the lake,
rejuvenates
fantastic.
you.
And that little drop of red wine.
Oh,
it doesn't go astray at all.
I didn't want to mention that. Now, getting back onto you folks, you guys fish as a team, you're terrific anglers. Mark, you particularly are known for your skills at hiding knowledge from people like myself, which I'm going to drill down into to finding out about all this wealth of knowledge that you have. But you're very competitive, but you're brilliant anglers. What makes for a good competitive angler? Because to me it's kind of an anathema. You know, we go fishing and it's really to get out there from the elements and be at one with nature, you know, all that sort of stuff. But you see it differently.
Yeah, well, I see it as, well, I think it's very much hidden and deep in the DNA. And I think, I always remember my mum used to say to me, like, when I came home, did you catch anything? It's as basic as that. Like it is. You know, success is about catching. Going out for a day's fishing, be it for pleasure or for competition, is not about bringing nothing home or bringing nothing to the net. Yeah. And nowadays, we want catch and release. So you have to have success. Yeah. And I always say that a guide that doesn't get his guess fish is not going to last too long. So, but I think we go beyond that. I think that we're what we call aggressive competitors. We really want to win. And we want to beat the McDermotts and the Barry Darbys and those guys who are probably spending more time on it than we are. But we reckon we've got the edge on them. They're very good anglers, but we've got we've the edge on them too, because we watch them like wisdom. Yeah, absolutely.
And old age.
What we're saying now is that we only compete in a few select competitions in the year, and we do quite well overall in those few competitions we take part in. And that's because of business reasons we can't do it. But for the amount of input we're putting into it, we're doing very well.
That's fantastic. Extremely well. So your return on your invested time and energy is very good.
I think it is, yeah. And I think one of the reasons maybe why the partnership works is that it's a combination of Mark's unbelievable knowledge in relation to boats and lakes. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of those, really top-class knowledge in terms of those. And I think what I might bring to the party maybe is just the knowledge in relation to the fish themselves.
The biology.
And the hours I've spent, you know, actually in the field doing this stuff, not doing it in theory, but doing it in practice. So, you know,
and
doing
it's not the small matter that the fact that you're a rather good angler as well.
I mean, I
don't want to embarrass you.
But, you know, part of that may very well be, part of the success may be the privilege I've had to be on the water that much. Yeah. I mean, Mark was saying Barry's on the water a lot. I'm on the water all day long, all day, every day. That's what I do for a living.
And there's no question, if you have that, you absorb it like osmosis.
You absolutely do. And I think it is to do with that. It's to do with the fact that you're absolutely fascinated with this. And that's part of the challenge, is that you get besotted with the idea of actually getting up the next step. Yeah. And we're dreadful together. We feed off one another. And I mean, I think that's another advantage.
Are you competitive against each other even in the boat?
Absolutely, yeah.
Even though you're working in
Not really. I just like to beat him all the time.
And I get so much pleasure the odd time that I manage to beat him. Yeah. But Mark was mentioning earlier about how this started. I can remember so clearly going down to Wexford after my grandmother had died, and we brought back some of the lovely old delf that was in the house. Yes. And there was a great big platter, which I have at home. It's known as Ken's platter. And my mother put it down on the table, and she said to me, when you get me a trout where the head is there and the tail is over the end of that platter, I'll believe you're a good angler. And I was 10 years getting a trout bigger than the platter.
Wow. And what size trout would it have to be?
The trout, 4 or 5? I remember the trout was from the dollar. Now, you know, so you were looking at a real challenge.
That's a challenge.
And I got a fish, 2 pound 11 ounces, a wild brownie.
That's fantastic.
And the tail just went over the end of the platter. And I can remember the satisfaction of yes. And that's
you
exactly the
mother.
Same as Mark.
Yeah. You know, but she was rather proud of you, I'd say.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's that edge. You set yourself the target.
You do, a goal.
And then you're quite comfortable to keep at it and at it and go back at it and revisit it.
Now, but I think it's very important to remember that even though we're hunter-gatherers, and we have been, certainly my mum would have said to me, you know, have you got something? And we would use the fish. Now we're quite content with catch and release, but not total catch and release. That if you want to have a fish, you can take a fish within the bylaws, within the rules.
That's what fish are there for.
And that's exactly, we can manage this thing very carefully. Yeah. Overfishing and taking too many fish is a bad thing. Yeah. So I think that's what a lot of people have to come to terms with, because we came from a time when what you caught was what you kept and what you eat.
Yes, and the family often needed the food.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that...
But now it's pleasure.
Yes, absolutely.
And Mark, what I'm fascinated in, because I know you're very dedicated, do you do a lot of research? If you, for example, say we're picking Lough, for argument's sake, you guys are going to go and do a 3-day tournament up there. Do you do a lot of research in advance of that? Do you go up and pre-fish it, or do you listen and try and find out in the grapevine where there have been catches caught, or if the bream or roach are actually showing up in certain areas that you know the predators are probably not too far away?
Yeah, well, I mean, before a competition, like, for example, you take the competitions coming up now on the 15th, 16th and 17th of April on Lough, the Lough Classic. For that competition, it has started for us now. It has started for us now.
The research?
Yeah, research has started. We're gathering information.
Gathering the information.
We are gathering information about where fish are being caught, because we have got a good contact base there on the Lough. That guys that we can trust, guys that will tell us the facts, the truth.
Yes.
The truth.
Yes.
And
is he bribable?
Well, I mean, it's shared information. Like, I mean, if we can share with him or them, it works both ways.
Yes.
But it's starting now. The other thing is that, I mean, in your head, you're planning all the time. You're planning routes. You
have to think like a winner, isn't that right? You've got the winning mentality, you guys, and that separates you from a lot of the herd, because you only see yourselves in the first, second or third spots, isn't that right?
Absolutely. So we don't think anything else, but it doesn't always happen. But, I mean, you go back at it again. Like, for example, what we're doing at the moment is we're preparing all the stats. We're putting it all up on the computer template, on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We're putting it there, and we're looking at it. And we're looking at specific lakes where we're going to take part in competitions.
That's fantastic.
And it's everything.
You take it really seriously.
Yes, it starts from, you know, looking at the wind direction on the particular day, the barometric pressure, the solar
moon phase, all of that stuff.
All of that. We know exactly where the fish hit, what depth they were at, what weight they were,
what they've been hitting
what lures they had, they took. Everything it's down in the diary, and now we're transferring it to the spreadsheet, and we probably use some software like Tableau to pull out facts. That's going on all the time. But the other element of it is that we don't suppress our natural instincts. If you have a feeling, we give it a certain amount. You must give it the touch.
That's often the sixth sense that I often refer to.
That's exactly it.
That a lot of fellows don't have, will never have, and certain guys do have.
It could be the slight change of breeze in the back of your neck. You just kind of feel, oh my goodness, something is changing here.
Yes.
You might feel that the barometric pressure has dropped maybe or risen slightly.
Or you're watching a bunch of turns suddenly now feeding on the surface.
There's a slight change in light. There's a peep of light coming through the clouds. Something like that. You're looking for things that are telling you that there's something going to happen here.
Okay. Well, I'm learning from you folks, and I really, really appreciate. I love the fact you're relentless in your pursuit of what you're trying to achieve. You have a winning mentality. It's a bit like Roy Keane and his days in football. The winning mentality is the only thing that matters when you want to be at the top of the podium. Is that right?
Absolutely. Well, we're working on an algorithm at the moment, which is, I think it's going to be something special. I'm saying that now.
So you're working on an algorithm to try to decode, is it? Do you believe it's almost like a matrix that you can decode that will actually put you in the winning ways?
Yes, I think that if we get this algorithm right, based on a massive amount of stats.
You're working on this at the moment?
We are, yes.
This is fascinating.
That it will be a real find. And I think it'll tell us, not alone is it about competition, but I think that we're moved also by the fact that we've got to preserve this beautiful species.
Yeah.
It is a lowly animal in Irish life. It's not considered, it doesn't get the due consideration it deserves.
We're talking about pike now.
We're talking about pike, specifically.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, yes.
Yeah. And I think that the more we can learn from it, we use the information to know what's going on, how we can treat this species, this wonderful species, better, and with due respect.
It's a wonderful sporting fish.
Absolutely fantastic.
That's fantastic. I'd be fascinated, and I think a lot of those folks out there watching it on their computers, laptops, or their devices, be fascinated. If you guys make a breakthrough, they'd probably want to buy the book or whatever it's contained within.
Yeah, well, certainly. I mean, we're working on the book at the moment, and hopefully within the next 2 to 3 years now, we'll actually complete it.
You're doing a big single species book. Is it all on pike?
We'll see how big it is. It'll emerge depending on what information is in there. But we've decided two things. A, we're not putting any artificial time constraints on ourselves.
Okay.
We're not actually trying to squeeze it in.
You're not being squeezed by a publisher saying you must
Not at all. We have a wonderful publisher now lined up.
Okay.
The publisher who did my sea trout book is very much behind us. He's an angler himself. He realises this is going to take a bit of time.
Yeah.
Like any other technical approach or science, if you like, it'll take what it takes. It's not a situation where we try and squeeze it.
It's unfolding every time you go out.
It is, and certainly this year, we had 2 days this year on Lough where we really did have to sit down and rewrite part of what we were thinking about in our own brains. We had 2 days of experience on Lough that were absolutely unique.
And groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking, and we got nowhere in terms of the competition. But in terms of our understanding as to what is happening in spring,
the dynamics,
it was absolutely unbelievable. And it all came together as we drove home in the car. We couldn't explain what was happening. And then the second day,
You have me
we
fired
were
up,
able
you
to go
guys.
back
Yeah.
and actually repeat it because we understood then what was happening. It was completely
So
against.
once it's repeatable, you know you're on the track.
Well, at least you're starting to actually then
You're on the track of
understand what's
something, yeah.
happening. And then we had a practice day then in September time, and we did really, really well on Ree. And we're again getting very comfortable with the idea that we think this is repetitive and that this, you know, this can be repeated, and we can actually do it several times over. And that's what we're trying to do at the moment.
Well, I'll know. I'm looking forward to hearing what they prove or disprove with this algorithm. I think it's fascinating stuff. I know that there's so many different variables involved in success, and particularly in ongoing regular success with big fish, and that is the key to it all. Now up next is our old friend Anitra Hamper over in Columbus, Ohio, and we're going to go over and meet up with Anitra. And what have you been up to lately?
Gosh, well, the last couple of weeks I've been able to stay home and just lay low for a little bit. It's been a busy year, but my last trip was to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I went fishing, and we'd hoped to catch some large tuna. That didn't happen. As you know, it's fishing, not catching. So sometimes those things happen. But I did catch some mackerel and bonito, and those fish were real fun to catch. And we sliced up the mackerel, ate it fresh right after fishing. So that was great fun.
Now,
But,
did you have any luck with mahi-mahi, dolphin? Did you have any luck with dolphin?
No, we didn't. There was a bait run at the time. So the conditions were perfect. The weather was perfect. Theoretically, the fish are chasing the bait, but it just wasn't in the day. So we did catch quite a few fish. They just weren't the ones that we were out there for.
Now, I saw a photograph you sent me where you actually had your thumb inside the fish's mouth that was a bit, and the fish bit you. Is that correct? Or cut your finger?
Yeah, well, so I guess this is a lesson for us anglers. I went to take a picture with the fish, so I was holding him by the lip. This was a bonito, so he didn't have sharp teeth like the mackerel did. So, but the inside of his lip was like a Velcro.
Yeah, it's like a rasp. It's like a rasp.
Yeah, like abrasive.
Yeah.
So I was holding the fish, and the next thing I know, it literally swallowed my whole thumb, and it clamped on right there. I couldn't get the thing, and I'm not joking. Now, it's not that impressive, so I try to show you, but I actually have a little scar on my hand from that day. I had to pry it off of my hand. Unbelievable.
But you see, I always say to people, anything that swims that eats other fish, by and large, there's teeth involved. And I made a big mess up about 12 years ago. I got a really big snook off a beach in Bonita Beach, in fact, in Florida. And it was a fish of 38 pounds, one of the largest shore-caught snook, I believe, in Florida for many, many decades. And I was there unhooking it on the water's edge, and I put my hand under the gill cleft, and next minute, I just saw blood pouring down, and I thought I'd damaged the fish, and yet I'd caught him in the front of the mouth. And when I'd returned the fish after measuring and all of that, people said to me, your hand is cut badly. And of course I'd lacerated all 3 fingers because along here of the gill plate, it's like a razor blade, and I had no knowledge. And that was a lesson learned. When in Rome, watch what the locals are doing.
That's right. My boyfriend said, I said, look, I've got this scar on my hand from that. Mine wasn't 38 pounds. I don't even think it was 5 pounds. And he said, well, don't stick your finger in the fish's mouth. I said, well, that's sage advice, right?
Good advice.
Don't stick your finger in it where it doesn't belong.
Wow. So when you were down there anyway, did you eat your catch? Do you bring back your catch and eat it, or are you very selective?
I'm selective. A lot of times when I head out, I already know if it's something, if we're fishing, for walleye and it's something we can bring back and eat, or if it's more sport and we're going to catch and release. So I will catch and release unless I eat it. So we kept the mackerel and we ate that fresh. We had some sushi right after our trip, which was lovely. My captain JP cut it right there, and we dipped it in some soy sauce and wasabi and just enjoyed a beer and some mackerel. But the other fish we released, and that's my general rule when I head out.
Well, I think it's a great principle because I've seen it too often, boats coming back to the harbour after a long day on the water with their bunch of proud anglers, and the deck looks like it's been out in a war zone, and it just looks gross, and you often feel that many of the catch get turfed overboard.
Yes, absolutely. So I try to be very mindful of that. I never really thought a lot about it years ago, but now I do. It's important. As you know, I mean, you all face your own issues with the populations of fish, and we do too everywhere. So we have to be mindful of that, and that's my general rule. But
Yeah,
yes, the mackerel is delicious.
absolutely. I think the catch and release ethic is so paramount now and important to everyone's front of their mind. Now, you've been around the shops on behalf of us and other anglers. What have you found that you'd recommend to the angler in anyone's life? If you've got a husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, who's an angler, what have you found in the shops?
Oh, I found lots of good stuff. So if you are buying for someone who is an angler and you are not an angler, it can be a little bit intimidating. So I found a couple of things, and I'm happy to send you some photos too of stuff that I found. So as far as a stocking stuffer, I recommend one of these. I don't know. Do you use these? A neck gaiter?
A buff,
Hard
yeah.
to see.
We use
So
these. They're terrific.
Like these things do that. They can be a hat. They can be a sweat towel. I love these. So for a stocking stuffer, you can get these for $15, $20 at most outdoor stores. And it's one of my top recommendations for folks because I use this every time I go, whether it's hot weather, cold weather, any climate. I mean, they're just so versatile. So I love those for stocking stuffers. I've got for him, there's something called, I have two things. You would love this. You and your buddies over there who are on the side. I found something called it's called Sage Method Humidor. So you want to hang out for the day. You're not catching much. You want to hit your cigar. It's by sagefly.com. It's an aluminum gasket cap with a cedar insert. So it keeps your cigar nice and dry and around all of the water, and even if you fall in, they promise it'll stay dry. So that's
the sort of gift I think my studio guest Ken Whelan, who's a very wealthy man, private wealth he has of a magnitude we can only dream of, would have in his possession.
And only Cuban cigars.
And only Cuban cigars.
Yeah.
So Ken can keep his cigar dry while he's fishing and enjoy his day.
I think he might. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good item. Yeah.
It's great. There's something else I saw for him, for the gents, and it's called a Finn Utility Essex side bag. It's a very classy looking English leather, handmade, durable and functional bag. So as you know, there's a lot of products out there that they look great, but they don't hold up well. I
Absolutely.
like things that do a little bit of both. I don't want to look like a hobo out fishing either. I want to look, like I've got it together. But I stumbled on this bag. It runs about $200, but it's very classy looking. So you can be stylish and functional at the same time. And it's very sturdy leather. So I found that for him as well. For her, which, we talk a lot about women anglers. I already sent this to you a couple weeks ago. The Shimano lipstick rod. Okay. I know all the guys over there in the studio are
I want one of these.
Right?
To show my feminine side.
That's right. I know you're rolling your eyes, and that's okay. But for the women out there, they have 6 models. It's called the Lipstick Rod series. And I told you before, women like to be sassy and savvy.
I think it's fantastic. I really do. I think it's great.
Well, these come in pink and purple. They're very functional. They have ergonomic graphite steel. So whether you are fishing for bass, there's lighter rods, or you're like me who love to catch the really big catfish, some of them glow in the dark. They've got, they're feminine. We don't want to be use all the guy stuff. We want stuff that's
you want stuff for yourselves, and why not? And I think, Anitra, the marketeers in these big companies I think they've got the nail hit on the head, that they've decided upon the target audience that has huge potential is the female sector.
Well, even some of the guys that fish with Mark now from the UK, they'd be really into that stuff, Really, the glowing lipstick stuff, they'd love that in the dark.
Yeah.
They love Sheelin,
on the terminology. But if only we could get glowing lipstick for our face, then we'd really be set to fish. Yeah. But so I think these are great. I've looked into them myself, and man, I hope I get one. If I don't, I'm buying one.
Well, you've given a very strong hint, Anitra, to your boyfriend there, that exactly that good wink. And of course, you'll be able to watch this back in your own time, offline, and you can keep replaying it in discreet places around your apartment to let him see it, so that at least you drive it into his head. You want a lipstick-coloured fishing rod.
That's close. It's called the lipstick series.
But is it a pinky day glow color? Is it?
It comes in pink and purple.
Oh wow!
Yes. So you can have that choice. But also for the ladies, Cabela's now has neoprene waders that are specifically designed for women.
Yeah.
Ah!
Wow, that's neat. That's
They're
neat.
very
That's
good.
neat.
Yeah, they're excellent. Yeah.
You know, we always have to wear these waders. Every time I've gone fishing with guides, there just aren't waders for women. And that scenario is probably because they don't have a lot of women clients, although I think that's changing. But I've got these waders and I can hardly move because they're so big. But I found
And they're awful looking as well. Those oversized waders, they look baggy on the ass. They look awful. But Anitra, we've got to move on here. I want to wish you and all your family the best of everything for a good season next year in 2015. But also have a wonderful Christmas and have a very happy New Year. Anitra Hamper, thank you so much for coming on FishTalk.TV.
Yes, thank you, Alan.
You're watching FishTalk.TV, the online fishing show for all of us fish heads. Now, it's a resource for all of you folks to get engaged. Send us your photographs for Pixelated or photo competition. There's a great cash of prizes to be had. But also let us know your news, views, comments, opinions, anything going on in your patch. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have anything innovative, something going on even attracting youngsters into the sport, I and all of us would like to hear about it. Now, guys, it's over to Mark. Mark, you're going to review a book for me that I have not read, that is a big book, and is written by the man on my right-hand side, Dr. Ken Whelan. Can you tell me about it?
Yes, and by the man on my left-hand side. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. I would describe it as a fantastic book. It is what I would describe as a tome of a book, an absolute tome of a book.
Hold up the camera.
There's about, I say, 480 pages in it, somewhere near 200,000 words. And I have to say that it's very, very well written. Of course, it's all about sea trout or white trout, and there's no distinction there between the two. But it's a directory. If you are an individual who wants to do fishing here in Ireland and you're interested in a place to go, it covers everything from start to finish.
So if you were on the Borough Shule, for example, it's going to inform you good beats, time of the year, moving to fish, seasonality, all of that.
Absolutely. It has it all. It has it all. In fact, it reminds me a bit of a book that was written on trout and salmon lochs of Ireland some years ago, back in 1987. Yes, Peter O'Reilly's book. Okay. And it reminds me in its content as to where to fish, what to do, etc., etc. It is. I have to admit that I haven't completely read it. I have. And I think that's the kind of book it is. It's a book that you refer to. You have it on your sideboard in your living room, and you refer to it.
That's fantastic. So really, it's a reference book as well as
absolutely. But the one distinguishing thing about it is that it's written with a passion. It's written. This guy and this guy here on my left are very, very passionate about sea trout. And
so there's a dual authorship here. We've got Chris McCulley and Ken Whelan.
Yeah.
What a great partnership that is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, probably similar to myself and Ken here writing about pike in the future. You've got the scientists on one side, and you've got the very practical, passionate approach on the other. Yeah. Now, when I read the prologue, I mean, it brought back days of my fishing.
It brought a tear to your eye.
Oh, it did. The difference, of course, this guy was 15 years of age in 1973, and he starts from there, and he's in the west of Ireland, and he falls in love with the place. It's a kind of a love story about sea trout.
Yeah.
And the prologue is particularly well written. But there's a lot of little introductions. When he's talking about Lough Esk, for example, up in Donegal, he mentions, he associates it with past references to it from different authors as well, also. So, a very, very good book. Like on the downside, and every book has a few little mistakes. I think on page 101, splashed is spelled plashed. So, I mean 200,000 words. Well, I couldn't find more than that.
Well, one of the things I'm really pleased with is the detail of how to create some of the fly patterns.
Yeah.
It's literally a step-by-step. It's a dummy's approach to how to construct some of these flies, these wonderful patterns.
Oh, absolutely. It has all of that. Now, I would say that there are a few photographs that, had they been in colour, they would have been an awful lot better. I think they would have brought it out more given it a better feel.
I think it's a beautiful book. I love the title, Ken. Who came up with that? Nomads of the Tide.
Well, Nomads of the Tide actually came from a Scottish author, but Chris came across him, and we thought it was just such a magnificent
It's evocative, isn't it?
of what we were trying to do, because
Isn't it
they are
really?
moving all the
They
time.
are.
And predominantly we were interested in sea trout, in what we believe to be their real home, which is the sea.
Yes.
So we spent a lot of time on estuaries and along the coast and so on. And I introduced Chris for the first time to the East Coast. And it was there that he met
The Dargle?
the Dargle and the Dodder. We had two
Yeah.
fantastic evenings on the
Yeah.
Dodder. And we got sea trout to 2.5 pounds.
The
at the back.
Borough and the Urn were my old stomping grounds down in Wexford.
Absolutely, and Wexford's in it as well.
Fantastic, yeah.
But we must mention Dennis O'Toole, because Dennis had caught an enormous sea trout in the Avoca River while we were doing the book.
Right.
Chris went down to meet Dennis. Dennis is just so generous. Not alone did he show us the fly, the real fly this time, Mark, that he got the fish on, but also suggested that he would be kind enough to do all of the tyings in the book. So Dennis did all of those flies that are in the
Fantastic.
colour plates were done by Dennis O'Toole.
Fantastic.
And it wouldn't have been the same book without him. So
Yeah.
people have been so generous. I mean, everywhere we went, it
That's
was
fantastic.
open arm stuff. You know,
Now,
it's really good.
it's most unusual, Mark, because you're reviewing the book, for me to actually have our author alive with us. Everyone we've been reading before, they're nearly dead, and they've been sort of maybe 50 years dead. So you are alive.
I'm fine,
aren't you?
thank you very much, Alan.
He's looking
Yes,
rather
I am.
well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a wonderful book. It's
What
a
sort of
wonderful-
price point are we talking about now in euros?
Well, I think with delivery it's about 50, maybe
45.
45 euros, so
45
probably
euro.
around maybe 58, 60 US dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something
And
around that.
but that's a book. That's a solid magnus opus for any author to produce.
Well, certainly, I mean, it's a lot of this is down to Chris, because Chris had started on the book when he did an interview with me in the west of Ireland, and it just came up in conversation. He wanted to try and fill in some of the biological stuff and so on. So there's a full biology chapter in there, and I was very keen that he would fish parts of Ireland that he didn't realise there was sea trout in. His heart was in the west.
Yeah, that's clever.
But what we did was suddenly discovered then the east, the northeast, the southeast, and the south.
The off the
it
beaten
goes
track
all
sea
around
trout
the whole
fisheries.
island. And we do the north of Ireland as well. We had some fantastic times in Northern Ireland. And one of the most extraordinary experiences we had was fishing the Bann Estuary with somebody who knew it like the back of his hand. He had invested 5 years fishing in that estuary. And we didn't see dozens of sea trout. We didn't see hundreds. We saw thousands of sea trout.
Thousands.
And the biggest sea trout in the book came out of that on the basis of a 5 minutes piece of fishing that was guided by this guide. He said, "Can you guys
That's
move fast?"
fantastic.
And I said, yes, immediately. Chris said, stupidly, he'll admit this himself, "I'll take the photographs," which was a mistake. So we went down, and the tide was dropping, and we were literally on sand. There was just wrinkled sand, water up to our knees. And he said to me, "Cast quick." And I just put a big long cast out, and I just moved the little fry imitation twice.
And
the
are
next
you
minute
trying
I
to
went
imitate, is it a fry or a sandy?
Well,
small
funny
sandy
enough,
or
it was
whatever?
small mullet they were feeding on.
Okay.
Mullet fry.
Wow.
Again, this guy had discovered it was mullet fry. And he had this perfect mullet fry imitation. Just two pulls like that, and I lifted the rod. The fish was so big, he said to me, "Oh, it's a big mullet." And I didn't mind. I was going to get great sport out of it. But it was just something in my mind that
Yeah.
it wasn't actually
And it
running
started
the
to
way
run.
a mullet. No, it didn't run.
it didn't
so
run.
it didn't run like a mullet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I pulled it in, and the chap was in front of me with the net. So I couldn't see the fish.
Yeah.
And I was bringing the fish in, and he just followed it like a dog. And then when he got under this chap's, right under his feet, the next minute he just turned and took every pick of line and my backing. And he said to
And
me, "Oh
emptied the
my
spool."
God," he said, "it's a huge sea trout." And that was our biggest sea trout in the book. It was fantastic.
What
And
weight
it
are we
was-
talking
It
about?
was just 4.5 pounds. So it was
Fantastic.
lovely wild sea
Wow,
trout
wow.
out of the ocean. You know, lovely
Well,
fish.
Ken, it's a pleasure having a living author with me instead of Chumley Pennell and all these guys that I'm a great fan of.
And even if I say myself, long may I do so. You know.
But they're all 100 years dead in the ground. But you love this book.
Yeah, I like this book. Again, it's passionate, and it's a huge work.
Well,
a lot
I'm
of
very
time,
I'm very pleased with it here. I haven't read it, but I'm going to
a lot
read
of
it.
time has gone into it. A lot of work has gone into it, and I think for people who are certainly interested in
sea trout.
it
This-
just is.
this is-
It is something to have. It's something I mean, I enjoy it.
This is
I'm
the
not a
ultimate
sea trout
reference book
fisherman.
for it.
It's a fantastic reference
Yeah.
book. I love that. By the way, I love the front cover. It's a wonderful blend of
Beautiful, isn't it? It's very. It's really
colours.
just.
They're blues
Yes.
and whatever. In fact, if you look at Peter O'Reilly's book, there's this. I think if you look at the fisherman on the river there in the backdrop of the mountains
Yes,
there.
yes.
The
Earth.
It's the same kind of theme. And
Yeah.
but this is a lovely book.
Now, You've reviewed a book there for Ken. It's a beautiful book, I must say. Ken, that's some magnus opus you guys have created.
Thank you.
You guys do a lot of traveling. You fish all over. Mark, you've been in the States. You fished in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I've
You've gone muskie fishing, which I've never done.
Yeah, I fished Wisconsin. I started fishing Wisconsin about 14 years ago, invited by a friend of mine there, who lives in La Crescent. And
what part are we talking about? What part of it? Is it like Eagle River or Minocqua?
Well, we spent a lot of time up around Minocqua, up on Trout Lake there. Okay. And we also went up north and further north, up to the Flambeau Flowage.
Flambeau Flowage. What a great name.
Yeah, it's
a reservoir basically, an impoundment and a river coming out of it.
Yes, yeah. It's a substantial piece of water. Of course, there's always motivation in why I do something, and it always comes back to my own home stomping ground. I went there, and in those years, the muskie innovations were coming into being, and I produced these. I brought these muskie innovations home with me, and they were weird-looking things, but they were amazing.
The Bulldog and the Invader.
Absolutely, and you may have even been before me because you were.
I predated everyone in Ireland.
But
January '97, and I had a 25.5 first day using a big black one, a 9-incher.
A big Bulldog.
Yeah, well, we got the twin fins, and again, you and I would have visited the same shop there in Minocqua. I think it's called Rolly and
Helens.
Rolly and Helens.
And it's an institution.
I was in there, and your name actually came up, and I said, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah,
I thought I was the first. Who's this guy? I certainly learned a huge amount, and a lot in guiding as well. Yeah. Looking at the different types of equipment they have, they're much faster boats, they're much more
and terribly professional.
Absolutely, and the sonars, which were at that point in time, we were all black and white. It was like the television sets.
Absolutely,
we were dated.
Yes, yeah.
And but my visits to certainly to the United States, and particularly to the Midwest, really, really revolutionised pike fishing for me, and I think that's why today you see a much better return for time on the water from anglers now. They're really they're looking at. Places like Bass Pro, LL Bean, Cabela's, Gander Mountain.
Yes.
They're looking at all of these and they're picking out the stuff and they're finding out what's actually working.
Yes.
And one of the things that we've discovered is that you do need to change. Pike have memory, fish have memory, so you have got to change.
Learned behaviour.
Yes, they do, and they see these things for whatever reason. If it's signature of the particular lure, they get onto it, they know it, they won't touch it, they come up and look at it, and they'll tip it with the snout.
That's right.
And go away.
And they'll actually shadow it back to the boat.
Yeah.
Almost
so
like to say,
we're finding out new lures every day, and we're keeping them deadly secret.
Yeah.
We cannot let guys know about them because they'll beat us badly.
I love this. Ken, I can imagine him now with the foil wrapper from his lunchbox covering his lure box.
Absolutely, that's exactly what happens. Even from me.
Ken, if I bribe you, will you let me in on a few
Absolutely
secrets?
not.
There you go. At least he's an honourable boat man.
We recently we were doing a film shoot with our photographer, and Walter was there, and he had exactly the same lure as Ken, exactly the same set of equipment, everything the same, even down to the fluorocarbon leaders. And Ken just absolutely outfished him completely. It was a wipeout, and he was there, and he said to me afterwards, he says, "Is that fella really good?" And I said, "No. You're just really bad."
and with that, he joined the golf club.
He's still our photographer.
You're cruel.
Yeah, he's still our photographer. But that was all the learning in the learning process.
Yeah.
You know.
Ken, you're a great travelling angler.
Oh, it's almost embarrassing. I've been so privileged down the years in terms of the locations I've got to. Again, because my work is my hobby and my hobby is my work. I've got to some really extraordinary places. But I think the two that stick out for me, certainly I've been to Mongolia only once, and we went to Mongolia to test fish some waters there. So we went to a part of Mongolia where no one else has ever been.
Timing.
And I think because of
envious.
How poor it was, I don't think anyone will be going back. Poor in the sense we got, for the whole group, which was 9, there was only 2 timing caught on the fly. Okay. I got 1 and Marcus got another.
Marcus Muller. Great angler, lovely fellow. So the 2 fellows out of Ireland got the 2 fish?
Got the 2 fish.
Kept the flag flying.
We had fabulous fishing for Lennox trout. And we had the most fascinating fishing for grayling. I actually discovered grayling there that were predatory. And I didn't realise that there were different species until I came home, but I knew there was something.
I only thought art at the time, Timalis.
Yeah, fantastic.
And so there's another version of it that's actually predatory.
Yeah, well, no, there was the grayling. These were predatory grayling.
Predatory grayling.
So the thing is that obviously the taimen are grayling.
Is it a bit like the ferox?
Predatory.
Salmo ferox, do you think that maybe they become piscivorous at a certain age?
Yes, well, these particular ones do. And they were following us in shoals and taking lures. I couldn't, like lures in terms of fly lures. Yeah. And then Marcus and I were privileged, then we fish a lot in Slovenia to catch hooken a couple of times now on the fly. So we caught those on the fly as well, which is rare enough, you know. So that was a good place. And I thought all these places were great until I found the Cola Peninsula. And I'm now in love. Don't tell my wife, but I'm really passionately in love now. I love the Arctic, like yourself. And the Kola Peninsula has to be seen to be believed. Wow. It was cleared of people during the time of the Cold War. So there's literally nobody there. And when I was there in August, for example, I was actually fishing and surveying an area of 2 million acres. So we were
2 million acres.
2 million acres, and we were popping around in a little helicopter and finding these wonderful, wonderful stocks of fish. So we went to one lake, the very first lake we went to, the dominant creature were perch of about 2 pounds. Probably as old as Methuselah, but they were beautiful perch. Then the next lake, pike. The next lake then, char. The next lake, brown trout. So the whole thing was in balance. Yeah. We had no fishery managers. We'd no one, there was no one messing with this at all. And it was so interesting for me to actually see an environment that might have been perceived as being a salmonid environment, where quite naturally there were these predators. Yes. But the interesting thing was, where the pike were dominant, there certainly, you had not got the char and the trout dominant. Yes. You didn't have a situation, which I think sometimes very simplistically we imagine here, that you can have the best of all worlds. Yes. I think, and I've always maintained, that you can have a really good pike water, you can have a really good trout water. It's actually quite difficult to have really good both. Yes. And I think that certainly solidified in my mind the fact that nature in its balance very often will have a top player and the rest then are bottom players.
Bit part players.
But it's very hard for them to produce top players all over. But certainly those two locations, in terms of how exotic they were, but also in terms of the wonderful species of fish that they had, they'd be amongst certainly my top 3 or 4. Okay. But other than that, I have been everywhere.
You've been very fortunate.
I have, really.
Now, yesterday, via Skype, we caught up with Steve Modrzejewski and Jeff Miller on the Niagara River that borders Canada and northern United States and upstate New York, and they were after steelhead fishing. And you'll see the conditions weren't very favourable.
We're on the Niagara River now, the lower Niagara River. About 3 miles up current from us is Niagara Falls. Steve is throwing some pink flatfish right now, and what we're fishing for this morning is steelhead trout, or steelhead, brown trout, lake trout, and we're gonna switch off a bit, on and off. We're gonna use some lures. We're gonna use some egg sacs. We might even try a couple spoons. But this area here is loaded with very big. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday that caught a 20-pound steelhead, very big brown trout, lake trout. But you can catch anything in here.
That's an amazing fishing. I'm just looking at, you guys look like you've had a big dump of snow there recently.
We got about a foot of snow overnight in about 8 or 9 hours. We got about a foot of snow.
And what's the air temperature roughly, Jeff, at the moment, do you think?
It's probably 23 degrees right here on the water.
23 degrees. I don't know that. So in centigrade, that's probably about -6 centigrade, -7 centigrade perhaps, -6 certainly. So that's quite cold out there, yeah.
It's cold, but you know, you dress for it. We're used to it. It's Buffalo. We're used to it, sorry.
Yeah, I can see there. And what sort of depth are you fishing into there? Is there a shelf that drops away from the shore there?
Shelf right here. I don't know if, you probably can't, but I'm fishing in an egg sac. I'm drifting an egg sac with the center pin reel. And about right off the shore here, it goes to about 15 feet.
Yeah,
but it's much deeper.
Is there a good flow? It looks like a very good flow. I can see there's a lovely crease on the water there where it breaks away into that nice roiling movement. So she's very pacey there, that river.
Yeah, it's a very good current today. They control the water. You probably can't see it because of the snow, but just on the other side of that bridge is one of the power authorities, and they control the water flow in this river, and it can go up and down as much as 5 to 6 feet in minutes. So they control the water. And right now, I think it might be a little low, but it can go up 6 feet, and this entire river here in about half an hour.
My God! So do they sound a siren, Jeff, for obvious purposes? Do they do that to warn people, that like have a klaxon or whatever to warn people to get off the river?
No, they don't, because they do it a couple times a day you can see the Canadian, and now on the other side, our side, right across is the American Power Authority.
Okay. So literally across the river there on the far bank is Canada.
Correct. This is Canada.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's Canada, and yep, we're close, and we get along.
And these steelhead, were they brought into the Great Lakes from the western United States? Are they what I call the seagoing run of rainbow trout that are anadromous? They have a juvenile freshwater phase and then go to seawater, saltwater to feed?
See, I call them rainbow trout, but everybody that fishes here calls them steelhead. I'm not an authority on it, but there's some that call them steelhead, there's some that call them rainbow. I was always under the impression that steelhead were salt, ran from salt to freshwater. So
this is public water that you're on, is that correct? Anyone can buy a permit and access this fishery?
Yeah, this is public access, as long as you don't mind. I'll show you the shoreline here. It's pretty steep. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see that. That's very good. Yeah, I can see that clearly. So you're quite a steep incline to get down to the riverbank.
Just down further this way, there's access. There's a couple spots all up and down the river here where the fishermen have made the path. They've beaten out the path and put ropes up. So if you don't mind doing a little work for about 10 minutes to get down here, it's all public access.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And on a given day during the run of salmon, would you have the bank lined with a lot of anglers?
There'd be, there'd be all up and down this bank right here. You'd see them.
That's wonderful. What sort of weight rod is Steve using there? Is that a 7 or 8 weight?
That's probably a 6. Is that a 6 weight, Rods? 7. He's got a 7.
He's got a 7 on. Okay. And what he's using, a fast sink line, is it?
Pardon me?
Is that a fast sinking line?
Do you have your fast sinking line on that today? Yes. Yes, he does.
Okay. This is very interesting. And yeah, this is a first for me to actually hook up from Talk.TV live across the Atlantic. We're seeing you guys fishing for steelhead on this iconic river. Look at his reel. That is amazing, Steve. The reel is completely iced up. That
run. See all the guides? You usually get about 8 good casts, and then your guides will absolutely freeze up on you.
Yes.
So
yes.
Imagine hooked up with a nice lake trout or steelhead, and all of a sudden your guides are frozen.
Wow. I remember being told years and years ago, a very good tip for trying to de-ice your rod is to have some glycerine in a small bottle with you, rub it on with a bit of a cloth around the guides. That'll keep it ice free. Glycerine.
Good point, yeah. All righty.
But are your feet frozen in your boots?
No, I think he's got nice warm boots on.
Oh, Alan, I don't feel a thing. It's great.
Oh wow. That's good gear you're wearing. My gosh, you really do fish in very extreme conditions over there for these fish. That's fantastic. But to see the icing on the reel and also on the guides, that's amazing.
Yep. It makes it worth it. You hook up to one of these monsters, there's nothing like it. And to have it right in your backyard, yeah, it's all worth it.
It's all worth it. Absolutely. And I can see there you're wearing a pair of Adams-built chest waders from my buddy Dennis.
I sure am, sir. Mr. Dennis is Mr. in Nevada.
Yeah, my buddy Dennis there. Yeah, they're nice looking waders. I must get him to give me a pair of them. And Jeff, are you guys now, do you want to have a chance of fishing yourself, Jeff, and then we can come back to you?
Sure. We can try. I'll throw my gloves back on and I'll try the center pin.
Yeah, at the moment, we're considering and sending you over a cache of Irish whiskey to warm you up and thaw you out.
Bushmills.
We'll do that.
Bushmill.
We'll send it FedEx to get you there thawed out. So this week, our pixelated photo competition is coming to its final conclusion. We have a winner, a really worthy winner. Felix Sprawl, take a bow out there for your gorgeous. It's a depiction of a lovely evening, nighttime scene just setting in. Very evocative there with the light in the background. And you're holding a glorious 2-pound perch from Lough Mask that you're just about to go back in and return to the water safely. Hats off to you for doing that. And hats off to you for a lovely photograph. And you are pixelated winner. And you're going to have a cache of goodies winging their way to you. We've got 2 reels, a bunch of lures. I'm going to show them up to the cameras. You've got a spinning reel and a fly reel. I'll show them to you here. So a fly reel and a spinning reel. You've got a bunch of lures, lovely lures. All sorts of goodies. You're a very lucky man. You can see that there, Felix. You're going to be getting these lures. A range of different lures. And they'll be able to help you put more perch, more trout, and even some pike in the boat. And there's a number of these dead bait mounts as well. I think they're called the System. They were, I think, developed in Switzerland originally, but they are a fantastic trolling rig for dead baits. Whether you're after ferox trout, perch, pike, whatever it is, and you can actually manipulate the size of the dead bait to suit the mount here. You can actually maneuver them around. But Felix Sprawl, congratulations. Well done, sir, on winning this month's Pixelated Photo competition. Now, we're back here with the boys. We want to talk about techniques, but innovations. We're always talking about techniques. You've got something here clever for me. What is it?
Yes, it's I got this. It's called a dongle, by the way. It's called a dongle.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
It's called the dongle.
Are we going to get now some nasty letters coming in from lawyers?
No, certainly not. Certainly
Well, it's
not.
called Mark's dongle. Actually, it's called Mark's dongle.
Mark's
being
dongle.
Yeah. Well, I have another name on it, but I won't tell you what it is. But it's a very simple device. It's a very, very neat little device.
Can you show it to the camera, Mark?
Yeah.
Just hold it there to the camera
It's
so the camera can focus on it.
It's a very, very neat device. It's a GPS, and its original intention was to
Can you show it to the camera, that camera there? Number 3 there.
It was
there
to track movement of vehicles, commercial vehicles,
Okay.
and to record mileage, and obviously to save.
So it has a commercial application for trucking and courier businesses and all of that.
Yes,
Fleets.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. But I was in contact with this company. It was called Fleet Innovations, and they have a website called fleetinnovations.com.
What made you suddenly, the penny dropped it, I can use this?
Well, I was thinking in terms of what our GPS and our fish finders can do.
Yeah.
And I wanted something that was independent of the fish finder completely, and that I could take it away, after. I wasn't going to take out my fish finder,
Yes.
or I could, of course, take out the SD card, but it wasn't tracking as I wanted to track. I wanted an independent tracking system.
So what is this? This thing has the ability, it's a USB related device, isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
And it's a tracker, Mark. So you bring it on the boat, you leave it on the seat with access to the different
Yeah, once it
satellites.
establishes a satellite contact.
Okay.
Just a switch, there's a little switch, an on-off switch on the left-hand side there, on
Yes.
and off, very simple to operate.
Okay.
And also it has got a little switch here that can mark a POI or a point of interest,
Yes.
or as a waypoint we
Like
use.
a waypoint.
Like a
we call
waypoint.
it, yes.
And
Can you keep showing to the camera so people get it's a tiny little device.
it's tiny. It's
not
only
much
about
bigger- it's
an
not much
inch
bigger
by
than
an inch and a half or 2 inches.
It's only a bit bigger than a matchbox.
That's all.
Fantastic.
I mean, it can fit neatly into another competitor's
Now,
boat.
my first thing will be asking of you, what is this sort of life, like a span of time in the day, fully charged? Will you get a
Fully
like your
charged,
day's
14
fishing?
hours.
14?
14
Oh,
hours.
so that's plenty.
14 hours.
Plenty.
And, but my idea was that when I'd have this independent in the boat, and for example, when you're fishing for trout, I would leave it on, and I would go back when I come back, and I would plug into my PC,
Yeah.
get up Google Earth, and the tracking system would appear on the.
So you can upload the information from that, and all of the tracks and trails that you were on during the day, Mark, and any waypoints or points of interest, as you call them.
Absolutely.
You can then almost overlay them on a Google Earth map. Is that correct?
Correct.
So it's almost like you're layering on
Yeah.
information
And
of
if
your
you
own
look-
personal information.
Absolutely. If you look at the satellite picture, you can actually see the points that you were drifting to. And one of the things it taught me was the vagaries of shorelines. In other words, the wind coming
Absolutely.
from the west.
Yes. If there's a point of interest, like
yeah.
an event, like literally a point coming out off the land, the wind can change 3 times in an hour.
Absolutely.
And
You think you're going in a straight line, but you're actually not.
Yes,
You're
yeah.
actually swerving and moving left and right according as the wind takes you. And
Yeah.
that's the way the drift goes. But the interesting thing about what I used it for was I pressed always press the button when I came up, for example, on a mayfly hatch. And I started to see the points at which
So you found mayfly beds?
I found mayfly beds. And I was able to...
What typically was the substrate down below? Was it in 10 foot of water, 12 foot of water? And was
Yeah,
there a lot of rock?
It was mostly shallow. It was mostly very shallow water, and with a gravelly bottom.
Okay.
And these places were sticking in my heads, so that if I felt that I was a little bit off the drift, I'd give it a little, either use the electric motor or give it a little shunt with the main engine, and push my boat over to the left. So
you steer literally back on course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And get in on those points. And consistently, particularly in Lough Sheelin, the hatch takes place in these places each year.
So these are now known spots that you will go back. It's almost going back to like on a milk run to revisit old stomping grounds.
Absolutely.
And you've got all the information on that and on your map and on your PC.
Yeah. But I mean, fishermen who are fishing that lake for years and years will know these places anyhow.
But it's hard-won information, Mark, and you now can short-circuit the learning curve, which is what most of us who are time poor were interested in. Is that right?
Yeah.
We want to say, how can we
simple
short-circuit the learning curve?
Yeah, for a simple little thing. Equally, it's useful for...
And what's that called, that piece in your hand? Is there any name on that one?
Well, it's just called the dongle.
The dongle,
I mean,
D-O-N-G-L-E, the dongle,
D-O-N-G-L-E,
from a company called fleetmatics.com.
No, it's called Fleet Innovations.
Fleetinnovations.com. That is fleetinnovations.com, and it's called the dongle, and it's a GPS device, and it's, how much do you think in price point? I'll show it up to the camera now again. It's a fantastic little device.
It's approximately €100.
Give or take around €100, 120 euros, which is very much price point very much in favour of the angler who normally would be facing something maybe 600, 700, 800, 1,000, 2,000.
Yeah.
And you can literally then use Google Earth as you upload the images and your tracks and trails and superimpose them from your day trip out on the lake, and you're almost creating your own personalised map.
You are, yeah, and you're finding out, for example, if you're moving around a lake trolling, you can see your route that you've taken.
And you can cover an awful lot of ground, you don't realise it.
Absolutely, yeah. You can find pieces, a little bit of structure that you've found, maybe a sunken island, a river basin. You can just give it a mark it, and you can know, and you can back and look at it, and you say, yeah, that's where I caught that fish.
Yes.
And you can mark them, and you can call them what you want. You can go in then, but also there's some software with it. There's a little piece of software. Comes in a little disc, CD, and that's very useful for storing your information.
Yes, yes.
So a little bit of work to be done on that, but
But you could incorporate this now. I don't want to be prompting you otherwise, but I'm always thinking that's on the box. Your new Magnus Opus that you're both going to be working on pike. This will feature, I'd say, heavily with its information ability to provide you with hard evidence.
Well, the other thing that people should remember, and they often forget this, if they have a handheld GPS device, and we came across this now some years ago fishing a competition, I arrived out on the boat with this handheld GPS. And Mark was saying, oh, that's going to be very complicated and so on. I said, not at all. But I had put into that, I had got from the manufacturers, the actual maps of the Shannon Lakes. And the depths of the Shannon Lakes are all readily available to anyone.
That's right, the hydrological data is there.
So you have the contours. And with the contours, of course, then the marriage between that and the echo sounder
and the contours and the drop balls and the secondary drop balls.
That's where it really scores.
That's
because
fantastic.
Not alone do you have the combination of depth and you have the combination of the actual contours, but with that you have the actual waypoint where the fish took.
So it's like a matrix coming and being drawn together.
And that's like your algorithm. It's building all the information into a set of features against which then you test your conditions and it gives you a result.
And when you retest and if it still holds good, you know you're on the right trail.
Absolutely. And that's what I was saying about last year, was that having done it for the second day and learned from what we did on day one, we suddenly said, we're going places here. We're beginning to understand things about pike that certainly we didn't understand. And between us, embarrassingly, we have well over 100 years of pike fishing. So the thing is
fantastic.
that, if we haven't come across it before, you can be fairly sure that it's something a little bit different.
Yes, Now, Mark O'Regan has a business, a professional guiding business, and his wife and himself cater for all anglers' needs in Cranmore.com. It's a beautiful Georgian house over near Trim, County Meath. And I can tell you it's a fabulous place to stay, but you're staying with a true expert. Mark O'Regan is an expert trout angler, but also a big pike hunter. And any angler who goes and stays at Cranmore Lodge will have a fantastic experience. I know that for a fact. Now, I know you folks are terribly competitive. Ken is very competitive, and I know you as well are competitive. Now, I'm hoping you're going to be competitive because We've got pixelated, gone in the dust, and we're over to our competition. Are you up for this?
Yes.
You know what it is?
No.
It's the Fish Talk Challenge. And it's going to put you and your eyesight to test.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to do it now for you. And without further ado, get our equipment in. These are the 2 rods. Now, put in here and place. I'll get some of our stuff out of the way for you, Mark. So it's just 2 7-foot identical bait casting outfits. So I'll let you in there, Ken.
Okay.
Both of them with braid. So take one each. You can have a look at them. Ken, you've done this before.
I have.
So it's got 10 guides,
Fond memories.
7-footer, braid, 65-pound test. And you don't start yet, lads.
Okay.
So what we're hoping is that you thread it through the actual level wind up through the 10 guides, and I'll bring you back now through 2 little ornaments that we use just to stress you out and to make you feel at home and well loved. So each of you are going to get a Dennis Pie dumbbell float
Okay.
and a minnow bait.
Okay.
And it's going to be against a ticking clock, which I really enjoy this because I love to see you stressed out, you guys, because you are cool customers, but you're also very competitive customers. Now, I'm going to bring us in the bagging board and we'll see what you're up against. All the greats are here, including Ken.
Ken is there, yeah.
Ken is there, Dr. Ken. And we'll see now where we're at. So you've got to beat our new record holder.
Wow.
Is Ross Macklin. He's annihilated things.
That's going to be very difficult. Oh, God.
So Mark, look at that. Ross Macklin is on 1 minute 11 seconds. Cathal Hughes 1 minute 23. Barry Darby 128.5. Stuart Price, who came over from Mount Falcon Fishery 132. Jeff Cooper, our old buddy from up there, Tarman Barry 145. Kevin Lyons up there in Longford, the guest house owner and wonderful big fish hunter 140. Pascal Lurissier from Zondre Brochet magazine 157. Jean-Philippe Carnet from the west of Ireland 208. Dr. Ken, 239.
Yeah.
Mick Flanagan, guide, author and writer and journalist, 320. And Paul Burke, I know we packed it in now at 3. He's probably 4 months into it.
He is, yeah, and he's still at it, though.
So I think we'll just let Paul, he's probably having a cup of coffee and maybe some Panadol just to take the stress away. So are you guys up for it?
We're all set.
Well, I'm going to get you now timed up and we fire you up for this, right? And here we go in a second now. Just get your clock up. And we will then time this. So I'll just reset it. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. Is that okay?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
So you've got to go through your level wind, up through the 10 guides, through the bobber, finally tying off with the minnow bait under the ticking clock. And I can see Mr. O'Regan is absolutely determined to win this because it's the Christmas season and he's wearing the old Gansey in the nice colour red like Father Christmas, but he's no benign Father Christmas, this guy. He's ruthless. He wants to win this. Ken Whelan, look, they're both standing up. Yeah. So Ross Macklin, I think your record, I think, is going to be kicked into touch by the looks of things here. We're on 35, 36 seconds, and you guys are flying it. Yeah, 41 seconds. Very impressive, Ken. Dr. Ken Whelan, very impressive. Yeah, I think you've been taking all those fish oils with the omega-3s to try and speed things along. You've been watching Barry Darby as well. Yeah. 54 seconds.
Oh, dear God.
Mark O'Regan now starting to panic. He's beginning to realise that he hadn't paid his bills for his water charges. And the stress is getting to him.
Yeah.
And all that mulled wine that I never gave you. You're probably saying to yourself you could do it at 1 minute and 9 seconds. Ross Macklin, you're safe, son. You're safe. My old pal Ross Macklin from Cork. Limnologist, but also a great fishery scientist down there. 1 minute 11, and you're on 1:21. Are you guys going to be also Rans again, or can you dethrone some of the other guys? Like Cathal Hughes, Barry Darby, Stuart Price, Jeff Cooper, Kevin Lyons, Pascal Lurissier, Jean-Philippe Carnet, Dr. Ken, you're in there at 2 minutes and 39. Mick Flanagan at 3:20, and Paul Burke, who we won't even go there on. So 1 minute 41. This is the season of goodwill.
It is really, yeah.
And you know what? There's no love lost between these two guys. They'd cut each other's throats to be on the platform.
We're just not used to doing this
the winning mentality. I'm very proud of the fact that I've created such a difficult,
complete chaos. I think you've put something in this.
No, I did not. I can honestly tell you, I did not. We're on 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Oh, he's done it. He's done it. Mr. O'Regan has done it. Mr. O'Regan has done it. Yes. Can he tie it off now? 2 minutes, 16 seconds. You're doing very respectably well here. Can you beat Ken Whelan's old record of 2:39? Yeah. I can tell you, you need to go to Specsavers, both of you, and get your eyes redone. Have we got you? Have we got you?
Yeah.
2:34.41, Mark.
Oh, dear God.
Mark, put it there. So there we go.
Embarrassing.
2:34.41, Mark O'Regan. I'm going to put you on now. Ken, I was hoping that you would have been taking all those omega-3s.
I think the difficulty is certainly getting it through the...
Yeah, it won't come true. No idea why. Anyway, my old one stands.
So we're on 2:34. Mark?
Yes.
You can see the great and the good. You'll be delighted to know, given that we are now 1 week out of Christmas, and you've beaten your arch rival
By 5 seconds.
Dr. Ken Whelan by 5 seconds. That's poetic justice. I'm
It
delighted.
is really, absolutely, yeah.
Ken, if you slipped me more money, I would have adulterated that thing on him. But you didn't give me enough to bribe me, so I wasn't to be pushed off. Now that's fantastic. I'm really impressed, lads. I'm really impressed that you took into the spirit of it, because it's not easy.
No, we got it through the rings very fast, but I couldn't get it through the thing
I
here.
think the problem are the floats.
Yeah.
The floats are a wonderful addition to anyone's dexterity, and to really just go for it, because once you get through the guides and the rod, it's actually plain sailing. But then,
not being coarse anglers, it's a problem for us.
you see, what happens is this, I think, that you think then once you come through the guides that you have it all in the bag, but it's not that easy, is it? Now just put those all
bloody
there.
thing came through now. Yeah.
There we go. So Philippe Carnet, JP, and that's it. So we've got Ken Whelan and Mick. There, we just put it there. Still at it. Well, I'm delighted for you. Now, so we have Ross Macklin going into 2015.
That's a great...
Unassailed at 1 minute 11 seconds.
That's
a
great
result.
run.
Cathal Hughes, my old pal over in the west of Ireland, twice world champion in pairs. He was very, very good. He held it until show number 9 at 1:23. And then you look at the great and the good. So, Mark, take a bow. 2 minutes 34. You've beaten Ken here, 2:39. Mick Flanagan, 3:20. And Paul's still at it. Congratulations. You know, Ken,
I
you're
enjoyed
a great
that.
sport.
Good
You're a
fun,
great
yeah.
sport.
Good fun.
I thought it was terrific. And you know, when you have two or more having a go, it sort of adds to the momentum and just creates that sort of nervous tension and the competitive spirit.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we've come to the end of another show. It's our Christmas special. So we're going off to have probably a glass, maybe 6 of mulled wine here at my place in Crookedwood, County Westmeath in the centre of Ireland. But it's been a pleasure having Mark O'Regan. Cranmore.com. Go and look at it. It's a great experience to come over to Ireland, stay with Mark and his wife. But you'll also have a wonderful fishing experience. Dr. Ken, great pleasure.
Not at all, Alan. Great pleasure.
Go out and get his book, Nomads of the Tide, by Chris McCulley and Ken Whelan. A fabulous tome of a book, a reference for anyone interested in sea trout fishing, but also great stories of daring do going out fishing for this wonderful species. It's Salmotrutta. What's the scientific nomenclature?
Salmotrutta.
Just
Salmotrutta,
trutta,
yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's a book that I'm going to really savour over Christmas, because we're into the holiday season now. But thank you again for coming along. Yeah, and I'll say Happy Christmas to everyone out there, but I want to thank everyone, like Anitra, who's on the show today, our friends over in the States who've been helping us trying to get steelhead, all of you viewers out there, particularly like Felix Sprawl, who entered in the competition, but all of you who've engaged in our show. We're on show number 10. We'll be back hopefully in 2015 with some new additions to the lineup, and we're going to be out more in the field trying to get some big fish on the bank, and we're going to learn from some of these masters of the sport who'll be giving us their expertise and hard-won experience to help us become better anglers. So I wish you all a happy Christmas wherever you are out there in fishing land. I want to wish you all the very best for 2015, tight lines, and just keep at it. And thank you for watching Talk.TV. So guys,
Great. And many happy returns.